Imagine a world where the sky is empty, with no birds soaring to the clouds, no insects buzzing in the air, and no winged creatures to break the silence. For millions of years, Earth was a place where flight had not yet been conquered. The skies were silent and still, dominated by the towering creatures that walked, ran, and swam across the land. It wasn't until much later that the first hints of flight began to emerge, setting the stage for a transformation that would change the world forever. The story of flight begins not in the skies, but on the ground, with creatures that would eventually evolve to rule the air. Over 250 million years ago, during the age of dinosaurs, Earth was dominated by massive creatures that roamed the land. These creatures were fierce and powerful, but none could take to the skies. While some species were adept at swimming, and others could run at great speeds, flight was still far beyond their reach. It wasn't until much later that the first glimmers of flight began to show. The story starts with a group of small, feathered dinosaurs known as theropods. These creatures, often depicted as fearsome predators, were some of the first to experiment with feathers. Not for flight, at least not initially, but likely for insulation or display. The earliest steps toward flight didn't involve the soaring, graceful flight we think of today, but rather small, tentative leaps. These early feathered dinosaurs began to develop feathers for reasons other than flying. Perhaps they were using their feathers to attract mates, or to keep warm in a cool environment. It wasn't until later that these feathers evolved to become the essential wings of flight. At this point, it was not about the ability to soar or glide, but simply about using feathers to help in everyday life. Enter Archaeopteryx, a creature that would forever change the way we understand the evolution of birds. Living around 150 million years ago, Archaeopteryx is often considered the first true flying dinosaur. It had feathers, wings, and a body structure very similar to that of modern birds, but it still retained some distinctly reptilian features, such as a long, bony tail, teeth, and claws. This was no ordinary bird. In fact, Archaeopteryx is often called a transitional creature, bridging the gap between the non-avian dinosaurs and modern birds. It wasn't capable of sustained flight like modern birds, and it likely used its wings more for gliding than powered flight. It may have flapped its wings in short bursts to lift off the ground, but its flight was far from the perfect, efficient wing flight we see today. The transition from gliding to powered flight was not a simple leap. It took millions of years of small, incremental changes. Over time, other small, feathered dinosaurs evolved and adapted, and eventually, flight became a more reliable means of travel. As birds began to diversify, they began adapting to their environments, and flight became a key survival trait. Some of these early birds took flight in bursts, while others developed gliding capabilities to soar from tree to tree, using their wings to catch air currents and stay aloft. But they were still in the early stages of learning to fly. The wings of birds were not yet the sophisticated aerodynamic structures we see today. At the same time that birds were developing wings capable of limited flight, another group of flying creatures took to the skies. These were not birds, but rather flying reptiles known as pterosaurs. Living alongside the dinosaurs, pterosaurs offered a completely different approach to flight. Unlike birds, which evolved wings from feathers, pterosaurs developed wings made of skin stretched over a framework of bones. These wings were not built for flapping in the same way bird wings are. Instead, pterosaurs relied on gliding and soaring to stay aloft. The pterosaurs were a diverse group, with wingspans that range from just a few feet to over 30 feet in length. Some pterosaurs, like Pteranodon, were built for long-distance flight, using air currents to glide effortlessly through the sky. Others, like Pterodaustro, had specialized feeding mechanisms that allowed them to skim the water for small prey while gliding. Pterosaurs ruled the skies for millions of years, existing alongside the dinosaurs, but eventually they disappeared, leaving birds as the dominant flying creatures. As the world began to change and the dinosaurs started to vanish, birds began to thrive. With the dinosaurs gone, birds had an opportunity to evolve and fill new ecological niches. Over millions of years, birds diversified, becoming the vast array of species we see today. The key to their success lay in their wings. Bird wings, like the wings of Archaeopteryx, were adapted for gliding, but as time went on, they became more specialized. The wings of birds became better suited for powered flight, allowing them to flap their wings and generate lift instead of just catching air currents. The key to flight in birds is their unique wing structure. A bird's wing is an aerodynamic marvel designed to create lift and reduce drag. Birds can adjust the shape of their wings to control their flight. The primary feathers on the wings, called remiges, are used for propulsion, while the secondary feathers are used for lift. The body shape of a bird is also important. Birds have a lightweight skeleton with hollow bones that make them less dense than land-dwelling animals. This adaptation is crucial for flight, as it allows birds to achieve the necessary lift to get off the ground. Over time, birds continue to refine their flight capabilities. Some birds, like the albatross, evolved wings that were long and narrow, designed for soaring over vast distances with minimal effort. The albatross is known for its ability to glide for hours on end without flapping its wings. This remarkable feat is made possible by the bird's wing shape, which allows it to harness air currents and glide for thousands of miles across the ocean. Other birds, like the hummingbird, evolved a completely different flight strategy. Hummingbirds are able to hover in midair by rapidly flapping their wings in a figure-8 motion. This type of flight requires tremendous energy and muscle power, but it allows the hummingbird to feed on nectar from flowers while staying perfectly still in the air. It is a feat of precision and agility that very few other animals can achieve. Birds have also evolved to cope with the challenges of flight in different environments. For example, the peregrine falcon has evolved a specialized wing shape and musculature that allows it to dive at speeds of over 200 miles per hour, making it the fastest animal on the planet. This incredible speed is used to catch prey midair, making the peregrine falcon one of the most effective predators in the world. The evolution of flight didn't stop with birds. Bats, which belong to a completely different group of animals, also took to the skies. Like birds, bats have wings that are adapted for powered flight, but their wings are made of skin stretched over a framework of bones. Bats have incredible maneuverability, capable of flying in tight spaces and navigating through the night with remarkable precision. Bats play a crucial role in ecosystems, pollinating plants and controlling insect populations. Insects, too, have developed wings for flight. Though their wings are smaller and thinner than those of birds and bats, insects like bees, dragonflies, and butterflies are experts at flight. Insects use their wings to perform complex aerial maneuvers, such as hovering, gliding, and rapid turns. The ability of insects to fly has allowed them to colonize nearly every habitat on Earth, from the depths of the rainforest to the frozen tundra. As we look at birds today, we see the incredible diversity of flight capabilities that have evolved over millions of years. From the tiny, rapid flight of a hummingbird to the long-distance gliding of an albatross, flight has been perfected in many ways. Each species has adapted its wings to its environment, and flight has become an essential part of life for countless creatures. Flight continues to be a source of inspiration for humans. For centuries, we have looked to the skies, dreaming of flying like birds. Our own attempts to conquer the air began with an understanding of the principles that birds had perfected long ago. As we developed the technology to fly, we were inspired by the bird's ability to soar through the air. Today, we have airplanes, helicopters, and drones, all of which have been influenced by the natural flight of birds. Looking to the future, the skies are still full of mystery. While we have made incredible advancements in flight technology, the natural world continues to astound us. Birds, bats, and insects have each found their own way to conquer the air, and their flight capabilities are still a source of wonder. The evolution of flight is a testament to the creativity and adaptability of nature, and as we continue to study these flying creatures, we gain new insights into the possibilities of flight, and perhaps even the potential for new kinds of aerial innovation.